Hello and welcome to the most serious crypto news of the past day. After jumping to $74,000, Bitcoin continues its correction and tests the level of $70,000. But don't worry, from the point of view of technical analysis, everything is fine and a happy pterodactyl pattern has formed on the chart and they are known to fly up. And by the way, we will discuss this race in the news and what to expect from it. And everything is still not that bad with Ethereum and we are testing the level of $2,050. Bitcoin briefly topped $74,000, and it's a great news to start the day. Bitcoin has finally remembered that it can not only fall all the time and tested the level of 74K. On March 5th, quotes briefly exceeded this mark for the first time in a month. Ether also rose plus 7.5% to $2,113, and Dogecoin plus 8% and the Zcash plus 9% are among the growth leaders of altcoins. Analysts attribute this to institutional demand. Since March 2nd, inflows into spot Bitcoin ETFs have exceeded $680 million, and investors are using the crypto to hedge geopolitical risks after the attack on Iran. Shares of crypto companies also rose. Coinbase soared by 15%, Gemini by 34%, and miners like Bitfarms and Hut8 added 13% each, but it's too early to open the champagne. Despite the growth, 43% of Bitcoin supply is still at a loss, and it was 30 a month ago. And traders continue to insure against downdraws. The premium on put options is 10% higher than calls. The profitability of the miners has fallen to lows and they continue to sell off stocks, switching to AI. And the key resistance is $76,000, and this is the average purchase price of the strategy. And if we break through, the road will be open to January highs above $80,000. But so far, the Fear and Greed Index has only grown to 22 points, which is still extreme fear. In general, the market is coming to life, but we are not in a hurry to rejoice. Yesterday, the Silly Tuna influencer lost $24 million in a ETH USDC after he was attacked with a wrench. Yes, not a virus on the phone, not a pushing link, but a real armed attack. Well, if you classify a wrench as a weapon. The guy now declares that he's finally leaving the crypt and the police are already on the case, but the bitter taste, as they say, remains. Moral of the story: if you have an amount on your balance that can be a magnet to a wrench, it may be worth thinking about security. Western Union partners with Crossmint to launch USDPT stablecoin on Solana. The dinosaur of the financial world, Western Union, which our grandmothers used to send money across half the country, is officially entering the crypt. The company will release its own USDPT stablecoin on Solana network in conjunction with Crossmint Web3 platform. The main feature is that the token can be cashed out in 360,000 Western Union branches around the world, and this is more than 200 countries. In other words, you send USDBT to a friend via Solana, and he goes to the nearest point and receives cash in a local currency. No more bank transfers with 3-day delays and fees. The choice of Solana is not accidental. In February, the volume of transactions with stables in this network reached $650 billion, which is an absolute record among all the blockchains. And Grayscale has already named Solana the leader in terms of the number of users and the amount of commissions. And stablecoins are the main driver of mass adoption. Western Union has apparently decided to keep up with life and integrate digital dollars directly into its giant network of cash dispensers. And now the main thing is that the ossified employees of the departments understand what people want from them. And if you like my content, don't forget to like up this video and subscribe to the channel, and this way you won't miss out on new news and help my channel grow. Kraken becomes first crypto firm to win access to Fed's core payment system, and Kraken became the first crypto company to gain direct access to the US Federal Reserve's payment system. And this means that the exchange can now conduct dollar transactions directly through the central bank, bypassing intermediary banks like Silvergate or Signature, which previously were the only breach between crypto and fiat. In fact, Kraken was given the keys to America's main financial door. For the industry, this is basically a Sputnik level moment, a recognition that crypto companies can be as systematically important players as traditional banks. The consequences of this step cannot be overestimated. First, it reduces counterparty risks, and now there is no need to be afraid that another crypto-friendly bank will go bankrupt and freeze customer funds. Secondly, it's the speed and efficiency of calculations. Transactions will take place instantly through the FedWire system. And thirdly, it is a powerful signal to other regulators around the world. The United States officially legitimized the crypt at the settlement infrastructure level. Sui native stablecoin, Sui Dollar, or USD Sui, is now officially launched. Meet Sui Dollar, a stablecoin pegged to the dollar and issued through the bridge platform, which, as you may remember, belongs to the Stripe payment giant. And it was announced back in November, and now it has been officially launched and has already been delivered to major exchanges and wallets. The developers proudly report that USD Sui is made according to the rules of the American Genius Act, so you cannot mess with it. The proceeds from the coin are promised to be used for grants and other benefits for the ecosystem. The main feature is cross-border payments, transfers, and P2P transaction without intermediators, but in compliance with all the regulatory standards. In other words, it's a stable coin that your mom wouldn't be ashamed to send and the SEC or wouldn't bother. However, so far the capitalization and trading volumes have not been disclosed, and apparently they believe that this is not the main thing. But the native Sui coin grew by 8% on this news. Coinbase Microsoft and Europol dismantle Tycoon 2FA phishing network. Microsoft and Coinbase joined forces with Europol and shut down the largest phishing service Tycoon 2FA, which has been operating since at least August of 2023. According to law enforcement officials, this platform accounted for 62% of all phishing attacks blocked by Microsoft, and the service sold software to create convincing copies of websites and could intercept even two-factor passwords through cookie access. A real Netflix for hackers with subscriptions, resells, and tech support. Coinbase played a key role in this case. The exchange tracked the cryptocurrency payments that Tycoon was financing and helped identify the administrator, who turned out to be a certain Saad 3D from Pakistan. And Microsoft filed a civil lawsuit and secured the confiscation of the key domains. Coinbase representatives philosophically remarked, when criminals can't get money and maintain infrastructure, their business models collapse, and that's obviously truth. And now the main thing is for the other similar services to understand that the blockchain is transparent and every transaction leaves a trace. Bitcoin investors brace for impact as South Korea limits exchange ownership, and the country's authorities have agreed on a plan according to which the majority shareholders of crypto exchanges should reduce their shares to 20%. An exception will be made for the new players, and they will be allowed to own up to 34%, and this is just enough to block decisions at the shareholders meeting. They say they will give you 3 years to adapt, and the main ones under attack are, of course, the giants like Upbeat and BitThumb, which control 90% of the market, and the first owns 25.5% and the second structure holds 73.5%. Corbit 92% and GoPack 67%, owned by Binance, will also be dealt with. Local media are already sounding the alarm. This is an unprecedented practice in the world that runs counter to global approaches. And indeed, if the regulator forces the owners to sell part of the business, competition may not increase but rather fall, because new players will be just afraid to enter the market with such conditions. And the main thing is that the exchanges should not start registering in mass in other jurisdictions, leaving Korea with its strict rules and without a crypto business. And the most interesting thing here is why is it all started, namely how the BitThumb exchange arranged a 40 billion giveaway, which it didn't have. And by the way, this story is in my other video, the most expensive misclick in history. And you will see the link to it now somewhere here. And that's going to be all the news for today. And I will see you on Monday. Bye.